Are You Afraid of the Dark returned in 2019, but to me, the classic series will always be the best one. Right now on Verve, classic episodes from the 90s of Are You Afraid of the Dark from Nickelodeon are available. Try it for free today, vrv.co/geekdom. Try it for 30 days for free. The link is down below. So I want to do a video talking about the things I want from the High Republic saga. Of course, the High Republic saga is the next batch of Star Wars movies coming out, being produced by Disney, coming out in 2022. And they're going to be going back 400 years before the main trilogy, not the main trilogy, but before the prequel trilogy, to discuss this High Republic era where the Republic was expanding out beyond the Outer Rim or to the Outer Rim and having like an adventure as far as that goes. We don't know too much more than that. We know there's going to be a different batch of Jedi, new Jedi, and that's going to be the main thing. So what do I want out of this saga? Now, I'm making this video completely freestyled. I'm not writing anything down at all. I'm just thinking it up as I go along, and I'm not gonna give a set number of bullet points. I'm just gonna tell you the things I want. First of all, the most important thing that I want from this saga is direction. They have to figure out how many movies they're gonna make, or TV shows, whatever, however many things they're gonna make to tie in together with this time period, and they have to have a direction. They have to make characters, figure out where the characters are going to go, and what the end line's going to be. We can't have a situation like what happened with the sequel trilogy with episode 7, 8, and 9, where you have no direction. You can have multiple directors and different creative people that are helping out, but you have to make sure that there's one person or one, maybe two people, but one entity that's going to keep things going in a straightforward line. Now, should that be Kathy Kennedy? I would probably say no at this point because of all the backstage turmoil we've been hearing over and over and over again. But whoever it is has to maintain order. You know, not to use a Star Wars term, but you have to maintain order with the directors and make sure everybody's on the same page. And you can't have one director just taking a left turn here and then having someone come back and fix it. We can't have that happen. We cannot have that happen. Of course, I'm using the word fix in quotations there because it shouldn't be like that. It should not be like that. So to avoid what happened in the sequel trilogy, you got to do something like this. Another thing I want to see from this is new Jedi, which we are going to see, but I want to see new types of Jedi, not just like the humanoid Jedi. I want to see more kind of alien Jedi from different planets, you know, stuff like the prequels. With this High Republic saga, it needs to be more like the prequels, except it needs to look more authentic and realistic. One of the major problems with the prequels visually is that the CGI looks very dated, and because Lucas shot it in digital, you can't really fix a lot of the film. You can fix some of it, but you can't really fix a lot of it. So with these movies, they need to keep shooting these movies in film, right? Do it old school, but use your special effects more with a more modern twist, but also bring in sort of the prequel era kind of alien diversity. They want to talk about how much they love being diverse. Oh, we have to have an Asian, a black person, all this different stuff, which again is not really necessary in the world of Star Wars because you've got aliens. You don't need, you know, one Asian, one Spanish guy, one this. You don't need that. Just make lots of different creatures. You can have them played by different actors from those ethnicities if you want, as long as they're good actors. But that's what I think they should do, kind of have a different, you know, set of Jedi that are going to be more, you know, intergalactic, if that makes sense. Also, concordingly, same thing with the villains. Whoever the villains are, whether they be Dark Jedi or probably not Sith Lords, but something with the dark side, I want more variety. It can't just be one or two, because the rule of two isn't really a thing other than with the Sith, you know, so it's cool to have like multiple, you know, dark side users, kind of like how they had the Inquisitors in the Rebel show. Things like that I want to see, except maybe have like a band of villains all kind of vying and jockeying for position, kind of like what some of the Japanese Super Sentai shows have done. And maybe they betray each other because even if you're not a Sith, you know, the dark side will always make you selfish. And they can have all kinds of great stories with a new set of villains. You can't, you know, there's no Vader during this time period. There's no Maul. You've got to have new villains, dark warriors, ones that are going to be interesting both visually as well as their characters. That's what I want to see. Also, I would like to see a young Yoda. I wouldn't mind seeing that, but I think he does not need to be the focal point. Having him be there as like a side character, having him just be there and just be training is good enough for me. You don't really need to have him be a main character, but it is Yoda, so they want to milk Yoda and they'll do it if they have to. That being said though, because this is 400 years before Phantom Menace, you're not going to be able to use the Star Wars aesthetics the way you used to. You know, the sequel trilogy kept having the same visuals from 7, 8, 9. I don't want that with the High Republic movies. I want new visuals. Now, you can have some familiar stuff like Jedi holocrons and certain kinds of ships here and there and lightsabers, but you want to do something different. You want to do like new kinds of ships. We don't want to see X-Wings or TIE fighters. You know, new transport ships, new carriers, new kinds of battleships, not necessarily like the Star Destroyers. That's what I want to see, something like that. Also, I think these movies should focus on characters. I think it should be more than just MacGuffins. Abrams loves his MacGuffins. I think with these movies, we got to see a different direction and have it be more like the prequels. More like the original trilogy, where they focus on the characters. And granted, the prequels sort of did too. Not as much as the original trilogy did, but because here they're not really making a trilogy, it'll be a group of movies. Could be 4 movies, 5 movies, 6 movies. However many they decide to do, it's got to be about the characters. Also, I personally would love to see the underworld, the underbelly of Star Wars in these movies. You don't have the Empire. The Empire's not around during this time, so the villains can't be like the Empire or the First Order. Have it be something like the Yuzang Vong. I'm not saying it has to be the Yuzang Vong, but like a underworld sort of, like gangsters, like the Hutts, except new characters who are trying to, commit crimes and terrorist acts in the Republic, things like that, who are trying to stop the Republic from expanding because they might find some kind of secret or something, some secret of the Force or something. I have no idea. Something like that, I think, would be refreshing. Solo, a Star Wars story, like it or not, introduced a lot of these things that I would love to see. Same thing with Mandalorian. I want to see more of that in these films. I would love to see that. Also, Force powers. There's been talk for years that there are certain Force abilities that have been banned by the Jedi. The Jedi are not allowed to use certain Force abilities, or at least the light side doesn't really recommend it. I want to see those Force abilities in this saga. I want to see like Force Tornado and Force Fire and all these things we read about for so many years in the EU. I want to see that on the big screen. I want to see Jedi using these Force abilities, and maybe them telling us as to why these abilities are no longer going to be able to be used anymore, why they're a bad idea. And actually, I would love it if we saw a story where a Jedi did go to the dark side, but he wasn't seduced in the same way that Palpatine seduced Anakin, because Palpatine seduced Anakin by taking advantage of his weakness and his love for Padme. I want a Jedi who's not really connected to a woman like Anakin was, not really dealing with that kind of trauma from his mom dying, a different kind of story where he is seduced purely on power, which is what we originally thought Anakin was seduced by before the prequels, purely on the power of the dark side and what the dark side can do, and maybe even show disgust for the Jedi Order, maybe do like a Dooku where the Jedi Order does something to piss him off, and he's like, yeah, I don't want to be a part of these guys anymore, and just kind of goes off on his own, like Ahsoka, except he goes to the dark side, but doesn't really become a Sith, and maybe he discovers some Sith holocrons left over from hundreds of years ago that teach him about the dark side. Just that story alone, can you imagine how awesome it would be if they made just one movie about this Jedi's quest to find power? It's just about one guy, and he kind of goes to the dark side, has to deal with these sort of dark side visions and things like that. Maybe he has a vision of Exegol or something like that. Who knows? Something like that I think would be just fantastic on the big screen. Something different, It's still Star Wars, but you're not retracing the old steps again. Like, I would love to see something like that as well. I know I sound pretty excited in this video, and I know that we can't really trust Disney, but I just feel like with Mandalorian and with a different creative direction, the High Republic saga could be great. And people are already saying, oh, it's a prequel, we know what happens. Well, we don't, because it's so far before the current events or the events of the 9-film saga that we don't know what happens. The only thing we know for sure is that Yoda survives. That's all we know, if he's even around these movies. That's literally all we know. And he said for 800 years he taught Jedi, so he would have to be at least like, if he's in this movie or in these movies, he would have to be at least an early master. Maybe not like a complete grandmaster, but he would have to at least be someone who is at least well respected. He doesn't have to be the top guy in the Jedi Order, but that's another thing. I want there to be a different top guy in the Jedi Order. I would love to see how Yoda became the Grand Master. This is before Mace Windu. This is before any of these other guys. So seeing Yoda there kind of being the glue that holds this together with the other films, plus you have Frank Oz there, it can work, and again, I'm not saying he has to be the main character. You could have the Jedi Order leader, whoever it is 400 years ago, they're going to make somebody new up, have him be the main character, or at least one of the main characters. That can also work as well. Or maybe it doesn't have to be about the Jedi, it could be about anything. Like I said, the underworld, I would love to see them involved. Like, this is Star Wars, so it doesn't have to be an all-out galactic civil war or, anything like that, because if you remember, the whole story from the prequel era is that they said there hasn't been an all-out war since the formation of the Republic. So that means that during this time period, there was not an all-out war. But there doesn't have to be an all-out war for there to be a conflict or a battle that involves spaceships and Jedi and all that stuff. And it could be like a war, but it's just one battle. It's just a big battle. You know what I mean? Like, that could always work out. Because remember, the Galactic Civil War and the Clone Wars, the two main wars of Star Wars, we didn't really see everything. We've seen a lot of it thanks to the Clone Wars TV show and Rebels and other shows like that, but we didn't see the entirety of the war. There's battles going on, this planet, that planet. With this, you could just have one conflict that ends up leading to a little mini war, but it's not an all-out war. Or maybe, hell, they could do something cool where they have a war, but it's kind of swept under the rug. Like, maybe the Republic says, okay, let's not talk about this ever again, like it never happened. Then it could kind of show that the Republic was even corrupt all the way back before Chancellor Valorum. Stuff like that could work as well, with the idea that democracy can work for a set amount of time, but you're always going to have selfish people wanting to take advantage of the democracy, which would be a great prelude to Emperor Palpatine and what he wound up doing, or Senator Palpatine, what he wound up doing in the prequel. So that's kind of what I want from these movies. Let me know in the comments what you want. I don't know about them taking Legends characters and canonizing them for this, even though I'm sure they will do that. But I would love to see more lore. I want new planets. I want to actually see Dantooine and maybe even Alderaan, actually see more of it, except for what we saw in episode 3. More Coruscant if possible. I want to see these locales, either new ones or ones that we haven't seen in a while. There's no need for another desert planet, another snow planet, when if this takes place in the Republic, inner sort of area, you'll have a lot of civilized worlds, with a lot more cities and things like that. That's my opinion. Let me know what you think, and we'll talk soon.